a problem. And Olusola, we are live, and I thank you very much for taking out time that too early morning for you. And my question before we started recording, you said you are dressed for the occasion. So please tell us about that, and introduction about yourself first, please.
Okay, my name is Olusola Adegbonmire, and I'm a Nigerian from the southwestern part of Nigeria. And I'm a lawyer. I've been practicing for for about 36 years as a lawyer. And I got into mediation over 10 years ago. I found it was quite interesting helping people, working with people to resolve their disputes. I actually got into ADR because I first did arbitration, and I'd been practicing in arbitration, and then I did mediation, and I've enjoyed it ever since. And I work with a lot of mediation groups, the multi-door court. I'm sure you've heard of the multi-door court, the Lagos multi-door court, and the Citizens Mediation Center. I'm also involved in teaching. So I'm on the faculty of the Lagos multi-door court and on the faculty of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. So even in the Chartered Institute, I teach mediation. In the Lagos multi-door court, I also teach mediation. And I found mediation very interesting. Because we're talking about culture, I'll tell you the meaning of my name. Olusola means God has made wealth for me. And that's the meaning of my first name. My second name, Adegbonmire, means the crown has not left me. So it's like a name for somebody from a royal family. That's my married name. It means they come from a royal family. And like I was saying to Vikram earlier, I'm dressed, the way we will be dressed traditionally. So this fabric is actually a fabric from the southwestern part of Nigeria, Abeokuta, and it's tie and dye. So they actually dye it, and it's quite popular in the southwestern part of Nigeria. It's popular all over the place now, Adire. You get it everywhere. So it's all culture and tradition for me today. This is a very interesting subject, this issue of mediation in our culture. I remember I was saying something about my dressing that, sometimes it's good to dress this way in mediation, because sometimes when you come to mediation, for me, when I'm all dressed like a lawyer in a suit, black and white, I find parties saying, my lord, they're a bit confused, especially when it's mediation that is taking place in the court. So like the Lagos multi-door court has a track for mediation. So sometimes they are referred by the court, and then they come and see another person wearing another suit, and they're a little bit confused. So sometimes this also helps in settling the parties down, in getting them to understand what they're actually doing there. So that first of all is a little bit of who I am. Like I said, I've practiced for a long time, and I've practiced mediation too for a long time, and I look forward to continuing to practice and to teach mediation. I believe so much that so much more can be gained from mediation than from other forms of ADR. It's also pocket friendly. At least in Nigeria, even high-powered mediations are still more pocket friendly than other forms of ADR. So it helps to spread peace in the community, in the society. And one of the things I'm looking to start now is to start like mediation clubs in schools, working with someone. And we've already started maybe working with the Girls Guide to start mediation clubs, so that right from the early age, people become more aware of alternative methods of resolving their disputes. I believe we've always had it with us. Some think otherwise, that what we thought was mediation was not mediation. Maybe it was customary arbitration, but we've had customary arbitration, but we've also had mediation. And, as we speak, we'll find out, because we used mediation a lot, even in those days, for family disputes. It wasn't arbitration. You couldn't make a decision and say you must stay with your husband by force, So in those cases, the older people, the elders used mediation, talk to this, talk to that, to try and get both of them to see eye to eye. So we have used mediation in the past, we're still using it. And I always say when I did my CEDA course, okay, I did the CEDA course, and so I'm a CEDA accredited mediator. I remember when I did the CEDA course, I thought it was very expensive at that time. It's even much, much more expensive now. I remember telling somebody that, see me, I'm paying so much money to learn how to mediate. My grandparents or my great-great-great-grandparents, they will turn in their grave that, we just sat down and we helped people to settle disputes. And this girl is paying so much money for what we just did under the mango tree or under whatever tree it was. They sat down and they helped people to resolve their disputes. And, because we've had it for a long time. Before we had the traditional, the court system as we have it today, we've always had our own ADR, which included mediation. So basically, that's who I am. Yes, let me stop there at who I am.
No, but this is perfect. But because like my questions from what you said will be, we need people like you to be full-time mediators. So can you be a full-time mediator in Nigeria? That I would want to know.
Do you mean can anybody be a full-time mediator? At this point, I'm not sure, because most of first we have to create an awareness. You also want to put bread on your table. And there's a lot of work from the Lagos Multi-Door Court, for example. A lot of cases are sent to the Lagos Multi-Door Court from the regular court. So the Lagos Multi-Door Court is actually, it's one door, and that's why it's called the Multi-Door Court. One of the doors for resolving disputes. So you have the regular court, and then you have the Lagos Multi-Door Court, which offers mediation, it offers arbitration, it offers early neutral evaluation. There are other doors. Now, because most of the cases that come to the LMDC, most, not all, because the LMDC now is advertising itself, marketing itself, and getting what they call walk-in cases, apart from the referrals from the courts. But most of their cases, maybe 80% or more, are referrals from the courts. And because they're referrals from the courts, the parties don't pay because they've already paid their filing fees. So the LMDC then just pays a token to the mediator. So it's almost like CSR, it's like corporate social responsibility, because they don't really pay them much, because we're giving back to society is how I see it, because all these cases, there's so many mediators now, thank God, but there are also so many cases. I remember the LMDC was just a few rooms before, and just a few people coming in, about maybe 10, 12, maybe going to 15 years ago when the LMDC just started. But today, unfortunately, I don't know if you heard about there was this problem in Nigeria, and that particular court got burnt. But before it got burnt, they now had a big room, which used to be a big conference room, had now been divided into so many small spaces. I just call them spaces for mediation. Then they had also extended, they had built more rooms downstairs. Before that incident, there must have been at least, let's say 10, maybe like 20 to 30 spaces, some big, some small, depending on the number of parties. So there must have been like 20 to 30 spaces available for mediation. And so it showed how something that had just 1 or 2 or 3 rooms had grown to about 30 spaces. And in the 30 spaces, there was turnover in each space. So sometimes when I had mediation, you had to come quickly get a space. Your case manager wanted to quickly get a space for you because the turnover of mediation became high. Then they also started what they call the settlement week. I think that was where it started booming. They had what they call the settlement week. In the settlement week, which originally was once a year, it became twice a year, all the courts send in about, when they started, maybe about 300 to 500 cases that were already in court. They sent them to the Lagos Multi-Door Court. And for 1 week, mediators tried to resolve as many of those cases as possible. So for all the cases that were resolved, terms of settlement were drawn up, and they just went back to court, and the court made it a court judgment. And as it went on, and the settlement week has been going on for more than 10 years now, and as it went on, they increased the number of cases that came for the settlement week. It went from maybe 300 to now 1,000, 1,500 cases come once or twice a year for the settlement week. It's like time-bound mediation, 3 hours or a little more, and at least 2 a day, and the turnover is quite high. And a lot of the cases are settled and don't have to go back to court. But back to, I went on this long journey because I was trying to talk about making money from mediation. Now, because these people have already paid in court, they don't pay again. So the court just pays a token to the mediators. Like I said, it's CSR, a token being less than $50, for example, per case. And there are now so many mediators, so each mediator just does a few. And that is where the bulk, I think, of mediations are generated for now. When I say bulk, thousands. One is the LMDC, and the second is the Citizens Mediation Center. I don't know if you've heard of the Citizens Mediation Center. The Citizens Mediation Center was actually started by the person who is the current Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Oshibaju. Then he was the Attorney General. That was also about maybe, that would be like 12 to 16 years ago. He was the Attorney General of Lagos State, the state where I live. And he came up with the idea of the Citizens Mediation Center. It started as just one center in Lagos, in Alausa, Ikeja, Lagos, one part of Lagos anyway. The Citizens Mediation Center was a place where low-income cases or low-income, low value cases were brought for mediation. And it caught up so well that they now have Citizens Mediation Centers in all the local governments of Lagos State. And that's a lot of Citizens Mediation Centers. But they deal more in low value cases. And they have people are posted from the Ministry of Justice, full-time lawyers working in the Ministry of Justice are posted to the Citizens Mediation Center. But now, because there's also such a high turnover of cases, a lot of people come there. And I'll be talking about the Citizens Mediation Center too. A lot of people are invited to volunteer. So they also get volunteers. But of course, if you volunteer, you're not paid. Maybe they might give you something for fuel, to fuel your car or to transport yourself, but you're not paid. And these are the places that generate thousands and thousands. In a year, the Citizens Mediation Center, they made minimum, they would have like 3,000 to 5,000 cases per year, mediation. I imagine that these 3,000 to 5,000 cases, the volunteers are not paid, and the people who are paid are just normal salary earners in the Ministry of Justice. The Lagos Multi-Door Courts too, most of their cases are referrals from the court, and because they are referrals and the parties have already paid the court their filing fees, they also pay only a token for the mediators because the mediators are giving back to society. So that leaves a small number of cases that are actually being paid properly for, because a lot of people, I don't think it has caught on the way it should. Where that would happen, I think when more of the big corporates and the high value cases begin to use mediation as well as the low value cases use it, then one would be able to earn a full living, a proper living, and say, okay, I'm only doing mediation. There might be a few people who only do mediation, but I don't even know of any. I don't know of any. Most people are doing mediation and they're doing other things. I don't know of any, but there might be one or two maybe who do only mediation now, but right now, I'm not sure I can do only mediation. I do a lot of mediation, but I do a lot of voluntary, I do a lot of LMDC. I have done some private mediations. I've done private mediation as well, but not enough to say that's the only thing I'm going to do for a living. If I had enough private mediations, then I can settle down on that. Maybe I haven't marketed it well, maybe.
Because I tell you what, how I look at it is that everyone wants mediators to rise above everything else, and they are they have to do it all. I'm saying just once in the multi-door courthouse for the litigation part of it, just say that the lawyers will be paid less than $50 for every hearing, and then see how things will change everywhere. For some reason, we need to be different. We need to charge for $50 for entire mediation, but on the other end, the lawyers will be charging hundreds and thousands of dollars on the other end. Imagine that.
Exactly, exactly. You're right. You're very correct, because the lawyers who come with the clients are not charging that.
Exactly. So that's why I'm saying that I think at one point of time, mediators are the ones who providing that special service that they can actually end a dispute right there. And the person doesn't have to go through that whole time period. The peace of mind goes for that time period. That person is not valued. The person who will take you through it and take you over appeal after appeal, that person is
Yes,
going to be paid. It's such a surprising thing all over the world.
yes,
It's not just Nigeria,
yes.
everywhere.
Do you know what? Do
Yeah,
you know what some lawyers have, how they have defined ADR? I don't know if you've heard it in your place,
everywhere.
but they have alarming drop in revenue. You
Yes.
know, so they don't even, the lawyers, many lawyers don't even like mediation, because they think, go to mediation and the matter is settled, and then I can't keep making money from this client.
Yeah, because I tell you that when Fola, we were having that conversation, that meet the mediator, the hot seat thing, he started with me last year. And
Yes,
on that conversation, I was telling him about this story about that son who goes out, he's just graduated from law school, he goes out and settles the dispute, and the father gives him a firing. He was surprised. He says, same story is the one that circulates here
yes,
also.
yes,
All over the
yes,
world, it's the same thing, but
yes,
people don't
yes.
understand. I don't know.
They
We
do.
have, yeah,
And we have this picture. I see it in many law offices. I used to see it before. I don't see it as often in many law offices. And I think, how do clients see this picture and they don't even think of mediation? It's a picture of a cow with two heads. I don't know if you've seen the picture.
mhm, oh,
And one person is pulling the cow on one side, and the other person is pulling the cow on the other side. And a lawyer, fully robed in his wig and gown, is sitting under the cow and milking the cow.
everyone. I imagine everyone knows this, and still they have to go through that process because mediation has not been promoted in the right way. Maybe free.
Yes,
It has to be free. Mediator is not going to be paid anything, so people don't value it. How do you value it when you get it free? Anything. I'm telling you, anything in the world. You go give diamonds for free, they're not going to value it. So
exactly.
so I think we have to be able to reach out. How I'm doing it is that just I tell people, for me, whatever at the end of the process you feel, whatever value I've added, whatever value you've received from it, you can pay on that. But you have to pay. I mean, you don't have to pay in the sense you can pay what you want. And I've seen that just by trying it out, getting the flavor of it, tasting it, that makes all the difference. So the
Mm-hmm.
point is, no, people haven't tasted it. And now when I look at the court system, the way, at least in India, when I hear stories from the court system, it's not being practiced as mediation really. Either they are, like you said, when in a courthouse, first of all, if a person comes from a village into a multi-door courthouse, first of all, for him, a court is a big thing. For lawyers, you
Exactly.
walk into it like any other building. He's like, I'm going to court. And then he's put it,
Exactly.
he's sent into a room, and in walks a lawyer with, like you said, in black and white, and with that whole attitude, and tells him, okay, this is the way you should settle it. And the person thinks he has to do it. That's the way it's
Yes.
happening. Yeah. So the
In
person
fact,
goes,
sometimes they ask you, sometimes the parties ask you, so what do you think I should do? Because they're looking at you as if you know everything. And
yes,
even though you've told them, I'm here to help you settle your, they still ask you, so what do you think I should do? So I said, no, it's not, it's you. You have to decide, but oftentimes, like you said, they're coming from communities where they've never seen that sort of thing. And so as far as they're concerned, they're going to court. And the
exactly.
court, the multi court is inside the courthouse,
Yes,
really inside the courthouse. So, they still think they're going to court. Even the Citizens Mediation Center, I mean, of course, there's an advantage, there's a disadvantage. With the Citizens Mediation Center, people who don't want to come for mediation, they get written a letter on the government letter-headed paper. And just getting a letter with the government letter-headed paper on it, I mean, it's like, I'm in trouble. I have to go there, So we have to get to a point where people are actually looking for mediation by themselves,
Exactly.
Because it's something that I think, even though I've listened to some of the speakers, and some have said we didn't really have mediation properly so called in our culture, but I find that in some cases we did. We have cases where we actually mediated. In a lot of family cases, what today we would call family disputes, matrimonial cases. In those days when there was no court to go to for matrimonial cases, the elders mediated these matters. You would actually hear, okay, tell your husband to come and see me. I will see you later. Basically, what they were doing was caucusing. When you say, tell the other person to come and see me. And when the other person is coming to see the elder or whoever, the person who came to report is not there. So the person who came to report is like the complainant, the claimant, and the person being reported becomes like today's parlance, a respondent. And you have them saying, okay, I've heard from you. I'd like to hear from the other person. Tell the other person to come and see me. And that's like going into caucus. Maybe we don't start it with a joint meeting the way we start a lot of mediations today. So it's like we're starting with a caucus. But after that, after he has seen the other person, or after she has seen the other person, has heard from both of them separately, which is like our caucus today, then the party may even say, okay, let me hear from the other person again. So have a second caucus, I'll come back to you. And when he's heard from both parties about what is causing the problem in the marriage, maybe the children, maybe he's not putting down enough money, maybe he's beating her, all those things, then he would say, I will see the two of you together later, which is what we call a joint meeting, and then talks to them and helps them to find a solution. And that's been, they do that a lot, in families, first of all, within families, and then sometimes within the slightly larger community. So in a way, a lot of what we've had is customary arbitration, which the courts in Nigeria recognize. There are actually reported cases in our law books that have gone all the way to the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court has actually upheld decisions from what we call customary arbitration. They just sit down in the village and the two of them bring maybe a land matter. Land matters are usually not mediated. I think they're arbitrated. They bring the land matter before the king or the chief, and he makes a decision. And if one person in times past, one person has refused to uphold, and these matters have actually gone into the mainstream courts and have gone all the way to the Court of Appeal, to the Supreme Court. And so today in Nigeria, the Supreme Court recognizes what we term as customary law arbitration. There are decided authorities on it. But at the same time, as much as we have that, because in those cases, decisions are being made, which is different from mediation. But we also have cases where the elders are helping parties to mediate their matters and to resolve their matters. They may not put down terms of settlement in writing. They may not do that. And that is also an important part. But of course, because maybe they're not even educated and so on. But the things that we see in mediation are also present there. And so for me, I would say it's a form of mediation, traditionally.
So
And
yeah.
also,
Yeah. No, please.
Yeah. Go on. Please
no,
go
please.
on.
No, after you.
No, there was something that when you said what you want to say, something I'm going to say that also, now talking about my culture, I come from the southwestern part of Nigeria, and we're predominantly Yorubas. And so Fola is Yoruba, Abiola is Yoruba, Mr. Adeyemi is Yoruba.
Mm-hmm. You've taken over.
Yoruba.
You people have taken over the legal profession, is it?
Yeah. Well, actually, you're right. I mean, the truth is that a lot of, maybe a good number of Yorubas were educated. A good number of Yorubas read law. In the days of my grandfather, the first Nigerian lawyer was Yoruba, so we actually, in a way, where quite a number of us are in the legal profession, quite a number. My father was a lawyer as well, so yes. And but the last speaker from Nigeria, he's from the eastern part of Nigeria, Mr. Chika. He's Igbo, so I can say a lot more about the Yorubas because that's where I come from. And you could roughly divide Nigeria into maybe three parts. We have about 250 different tribes and tongues, but a good chunk, maybe about a third, are Yorubas, another third are Igbos, and then another good number are Northerners. But within the eastern region, you have the South region. They come from the Delta area. They're not Igbos, So we have some big chunks like that: the South people, the Easterners, the Northerners, the Southwesterners, the Middle Belters, and we all have different cultures, so different, and different languages. It's said that we have more than 250 languages in Nigeria. I don't know how many you have in India. About how many languages?
We have actually, look, languages, we have a lot. We actually have a lot of dialects. So dialects is by itself is, there are huge numbers there. So I have to put I don't even know if you can actually record all of them. You won't even know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have languages and then we have dialects. Yeah. So within the Yoruba language, there are many dialects, and then there are other many languages and many cultures. So even within the Yoruba culture, there are a lot of subcultures within the Yoruba culture. So one thing I would want to talk about, I find it very interesting, and it points us to mediation, is the proverbs. I don't know if you use a lot of proverbs in India, but we use a lot of proverbs. And unfortunately, we're losing them. When the elders sat down to mediate, not even to arbitrate in those days, they used a lot of proverbs. I was thinking later I would share some of the proverbs, very interesting proverbs, in the Yoruba language. Unfortunately, we're losing a lot of them. We're losing some of our language. I go to the airport. There's some people who are trying to bring back the proverbs. So if you go to the international airport in Lagos, I think it's a bank. They've done like where you walk through to go on board. They've done like a walkway with the proverbs, different proverbs from different parts of Nigeria. It's very interesting. Just to help us not forget the proverbs, because they used proverbs a lot when trying to settle disputes, not to even come to decisions, but when trying to get both parties to see it, to help them, when they were helping them to settle, which is not arbitration. In arbitration, you don't help them to settle, you just give them a decision. They used a lot of proverbs in those days to help parties say to this, say to that, different proverbs. And I was looking forward to sharing some of the proverbs, some that I remember. And when I started looking for these proverbs, I thought I really must go back and learn some of these proverbs. They're very helpful and they're real words of wisdom. So I was wondering, do you have proverbs or do you have another name for them?
Look, we have, first of all, we had one person who had given us a lot of these short two-liners, which meant a lot. This is about life and the way you should conduct yourself and all that. So we have a lot of those that are very, very popular because those two lines tell you so much. So we have those, and a lot of, of course, locally everywhere there are those proverbs which are used. So I think what I'm thinking, which I once discussing with Mr. Akisanya also, that we need to compile these. We need to compile this. So which is what I'm going to do now. I told him, let us look it up, but he definitely doesn't have time. So I am going to, you will send me your contributions.
I'm going to share some with you today.
And you'll also, you'll have to send it, write them down, and you'll send them to me, because Isaac from Ghana in his presentation had put down some proverbs from various parts of Africa. So I think we need those collections from India, Africa, everywhere. All over the world, they will be there. So let's put them down in various languages and let's circulate this, because those one-liner can actually be something which can tell you so much about the way, and it's something which is much easier maybe to understand. I can take 1 hour to say something and a one line can suddenly click somewhere. So absolutely important.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, and there are proverbs that have to do with conflict resolution or dispute resolution, So, I mean, when you are threatening to go to court, they tell you quickly, look, you don't go to court and come back and return as friends. That's how they saw it in those days, that you don't go to court and come back as friends. So you think about it, that you're going to lose the relationship if you do not sit with us and let us resolve this issue. Then when you hear that, you have to think about the relationship you have with the person. And those are the things that we call reality testing in mediation. When they say reality testing, that's what it really is all about. These sort of proverbs, when they say to you, you don't go to court and come back as friends, then you have to think about it, that, I mean, there are some things I've gained from this relationship. Do I want to throw everything away because I'm not willing to sit down to resolve the dispute? And then you start thinking about it. And if you leave one party with that, then you go to the other party. But it is, even though it's a proverb, but it basically is reality testing, and we have quite a few of them like that, I had some written down, because we use proverbs a lot to support the conflict management, the mediation process. There's one that is saying that, there's one that says the tongue and the mouth, they quarrel and they resolve it. Because sometimes when you are eating, you bite your tongue and it's very painful. But you're not going to say, take out my tongue because of that. You're still going to live with it. So the tongue and the mouth, they fight, they resolve it. And so they're saying to you, I mean, we know that there's a problem, but there's nothing that cannot be resolved. And you notice that these are not things you say when you are in the track of making a decision. These are proverbs for helping both parties to just come together to find a solution to their problem. They're saying to the two of them, or to one of them, that it's normal to fight, but we have to find a solution. So, I'm saying that some of these proverbs are actually for dispute resolution. They are very helpful in mediation. You hear it and you think about it very well. There's one that says, it's not possible to live together and not quarrel. There will always be quarrel. But what is not good is that you don't make up. So those are proverbs that they help. There's one that, if you don't want to be touched at all, they say, Ma fara komi, kun lo soja. It means, don't touch me, don't touch me. Such a person does not go to the market. Mm-hmm. If you go to the market, you know that people are going to hit you, people are going to, you're going to step on each other's toes. The market is a busy place, So you can't live without people hurting you, people offending you one way or the other. But that's life, and so all these things.
I'll show you this. This is what Isaac had put. This is Aremaja Kan Kosi. This is one, the one you said?
Okay. Tenima Binu. Oh, this is even in my language.
Yeah, he's taken from Yoruba. Yeah.
Yes. So okay. Yes. That the first one, and even the three are in the Yoruba language. Yeah. The Yorubas were and are still quite heavy on proverbs, the Yorubas, and I think the Igbos too, but the Yorubas are very heavy on proverbs. We have a lot of proverbs, just helping people to live life in peace. One of the things that they say about Yoruba people is that, we're just peaceful people who just like to have a good time. The Igbos, the stereotypes of Igbos, for example, are that they're very entrepreneurial. They like business, they work hard to make money. The stereotype about the Yorubas is that they're just very easygoing people who like to have a good time, but then you can't have a good time without money. So they must have to make money somehow. But Yorubas, the stereotype is that they're just peace-loving people who want to have a good time. And so you have a lot of proverbs geared towards resolving disputes.
Let me show you what. Let me show you. For he's taken from Ghana. He's taken these.
Okay. I'm looking at.
I like the second one. The second one I really like that. Basically, that you need each other. So you have.
it is because of blow the dust off my eye. Wow, that two antelopes walk together. Exactly. You can't do it all by yourself. You
Yeah.
can't. And those things then help parties in a dispute to think again and to realize that, this thing, we're quarreling, but we need to resolve it. And
This is
that's why I know that we've had mediation. When you think about these proverbs, a lot of them were used to speak to both parties. You don't need proverbs if you're just making a decision for them. If you're hearing from party A and hearing from party B, and as the king, you're making a decision. When you're making a decision, you're making a decision.
I
You
want,
do
yeah,
not
yeah. I want you to read
disgrace,
this one also, yeah, because it's connected to what
disgrace
you're saying. This one, the fourth one. Basically, there
the
is
if some,
there is, yeah, there is,
yes, have something like that.
yeah. I just wanted to show you this, that this is something which is Africa, and this is everywhere, that is important. That is to
It
be
is
able to
very
explain.
it is very, very important. There was one, that one I always with my mom was always saying it, always. So that one I always know of head. Now that means that when I understand, we become friends, not because we are similar in character, not because we do the same things or we like the same things. You know, it's it's just understanding ourselves. So it's saying that two people are quarreling because you are not doing it the way I do it. And then they're saying to you that it's not the fact that your friend does things the way you do things that should make you friends. It's that you do things differently, but you understand each other. Understanding each other is what makes friendship beautiful, not having the same kind of character. So we may be two completely different people, but that does not stop us being friends once we understand each other. And so whenever maybe there was a quarrel or, I wasn't happy with someone, and, one of the first things my mom would tell me is that because the person is not like you, is not ground for quarrel. Learn to understand the other party. Learn to understand what the other party likes, what the other party does not like. Don't ever expect that your friends must like what you like. It's when you're expecting your friends to like what you like that you're always going to quarrel, because they have a life of their own, they have a mind of their own. They're going to do things their own way because we've come from different homes, you've been brought up different ways. My mom always says, understand your friends. Don't expect your friends to be like you. It's part of conflict management. You're quarreling with someone, you assume, this person should have done this way. Small quarrels, big quarrels, and then you come to an elder to mediate, to settle the quarrel. And the elder, one of the things they're telling you to think about is that you are not the same person. You are two different people, and you will do things in different ways. So try and understand that. I remember that one very well. There's another one that was very popular that says that it's also telling both parties that we all have something to gain from each other. I'll just say it in English. It says that the hand of the young person, the child, may not be able to reach up to the shelf, but then the hand of the older person may not reach into something it's called a calabash, but it was something with a small, they used it to drink water or to store water. And so you poured water into it, and it had a very small, narrow opening. And so only a little child could put his hand into the calabash to take something. Maybe you dropped a coin into the calabash when you were putting water in it, for example. The old person cannot put his hand into the calabash. It would not go in. And so the young person, even though he may not reach up to the shelf that the old person can reach up to, the old person cannot reach into the little calabash. And so everybody has a role to play. Everybody is useful one way or the other. And so there's
Yeah.
no...
I was telling you about these two liners that this particular person has written, and that, so basically one that is written is about this, that you can use where you can need a needle, a sword will not work. So
Exactly.
yeah, so everything has a role to play.
Yes. And so we use all this. There's another one. That one encourages mediation. It encourages people to go to the elders. It says, Agbakiwa loja kori omo tutunwo. It means that when you have elderly people in the market, that's the literal translation. When you have an elderly person in the market, you cannot have a child's head bent, a baby, with a bent head, because the elder would say, oh, look, then they used to carry babies on their back. Then they say, oh, look, straighten the head of your baby. But what it meant was that when there are elderly people, then we have people who can make corrections, who can help people to solve problems. And so they encourage you, when you have a problem, look for an elder in your family to start with. Even you don't have to go far. Look for an elder in your family who can help you guys to mediate. Sometimes they even ask you, when things are escalating in a family, maybe between husband and wife or between siblings, they ask you, they say, are there no elders in your family? Recently, I knew of some family members, siblings, who are having it's even common. And this one had gone public, it's in social media. People are sending emails about it all over the place, or see how these people are quarreling and they have so much money. And of course, one thing people are asking is, are there no elders in that family? Is there nobody who can call them together and sit with them and help them to resolve this problem? That's not decision making, that's mediation. Are there no elders who can bring them together, talk to them, help them to facilitate a settlement, and then they get on with their lives? And that's what that proverb is about. Are there no elders? Is there nobody who can help them? Usually, people assume that they would listen. Such parties would listen more to older people who are older than them, than younger people. And the LMDC, I'm going back and forth, but talking about older people and culture, the LMDC has a very wide range of mediators. So for some of their disputes, they actually try to fit the mediator, look for a mediator to fit the parties. So you have a dispute with parties who are like 70 years old, 75 years old. LMDC has some mediators who are about 80-something years old. You don't want to bring maybe a 20-something-year-old to come and mediate disputes of 70-something-year-olds. They first look at the child. They look at this child. What does this child know? And they won't even take anything seriously. But when you have an older person or someone whose age is around their own, they feel, okay, this person has also had life experiences and will understand what we're going through, what we're talking about, and so in that way as well, I'll say culture, also a lot of people, I think when they eventually understand what they're doing at the CMC, for example, the Citizens Mediation Center, which I said is low value cases, a lot of them feel comfortable because in that place, it's what they are used to at home. Somebody is talking to them, helping them to resolve the disputes. They're not in when they settle down, they realize I'm not in a traditional court. This is a place where I can actually be heard. In a traditional court, you're sitting at the back, your lawyers are sitting in front, nobody's listening to you. I'm sure there are many times then, as the lawyer, you are saying something, and your client who is sitting at the back of the court is thinking, no, that's not what I want you to say. But in mediation, they get the chance. They get the chance.
And the fact is that they are so overawed by the court that they will never even go and correct the counsel. They won't. They just sit there and they will hear the counsel going through the entire thing, which he knows is going in the wrong track, saying something, but can't do it.
Nothing. They can't do anything about it. So they feel more comfortable when they come to mediation because, they have a chance to talk. That's something like has been happening back home for them when they really understand. The mediator takes them maybe through the opening statement, helps them to really understand what they're doing there. That here you have a chance to resolve your dispute yourself, to hear the other party, and to talk, and it changes things,
But Olusola, just one sec.
Yes.
I hope you don't mind me munching something. I'm just
No.
something. I'm not. If you think I'm rude doing that, I will not do it. But it's just that because I started at 10 o'clock, so a little hunger has come in. So I'm just eating something at the same time. You're okay with that, I hope.
Yes, it's just that you can't send me a bit of what
I know. That's what I'm feeling rude about. That's the only thing I'm feeling rude about.
Don't worry. When you come to visit us in Nigeria, you'll bring some of it with you.
Definitely, definitely. Then
Uh-huh.
but I will only give it to you when you give me your traditional dress from there to wear.
I
Then we will
don't,
sit
I will
together.
be happy. I will be happy to do that. We'll dress you up like an African chief,
Yes,
Like a
yes,
Nigerian chief, or more like a Yoruba chief. Because our
yes.
dressing too is very different. The Yoruba dressing is different from the Igbo, from the Hausa, from Benin. All these different cultures also have different ways of dressing.
That's
So
beautiful. I mean, just say those things just have to be more popular because they just look so nice. I mean, I don't know why we've done away with those traditional things.
yes,
The-
yes. And so when you come, you will have to choose. Do you want to be a Yoruba chief from Abiola, Fola, from our side? Do you want to be an Igbo chief from Chika's side? Do you want to be a Northern Emir? Do you want to be a Bini king? We can make you anyone you want to be.
Yeah. So basically, I'll have to spend that many days in Nigeria to be one every day.
Yes, yes, yes. All of us will make you one every day. And then you can take back all the pictures to show them. Today I was a Yoruba chief, and yesterday I was an Igbo chief. It's very interesting. And all the traditional dresses are so beautiful, all of them, different ones. So you have to. But because I'm Yoruba, I am going to make you a Yoruba chief.
Perfect. Perfect. But you know what
Mm.
you have to, yeah, you're giving some more proverbs.
Yes, I will give you some more proverbs. There are so many of them. There's so many of them. Um, Let me see another one. Mm, okay, so they say agbo ejo enikan da agba oshikani. You listen to an elder who listens to one person is a wicked is a wicked person. I think it's the word wicked. I'm trying to translate that word. Is a wicked person or is a bad person. If you listen, and that's part of what we're doing in mediation. You can't listen to one side. If you listened to one side in mediation, then of course you're not being fair. So the proverbs recognize that you need to listen to both parties. You have to hear both parties. You have to give both parties the opportunity to be heard before you can intervene, before you can help. You have to give both parties the opportunity to be heard. So it's unfortunate that
Yeah, at the
when
same time, I will also keep pointing out our own proverb that you can't clap with only one hand. So definitely there
Mhm.
have been two hands involved.
Exactly. That's another one. You can't clap with one hand, and it takes two to quarrel. It takes two to make up the dispute as well, and they use a lot of these proverbs in mediation, in reality testing, in bringing the parties together, in setting up the mediation, because you are first advising, look for the elder. So when you have a very bitter dispute in the family and they're telling you, don't you have an elder? They're telling you, go and look for someone to help you resolve this. Not even make a decision, but just help you resolve. The person has lived life longer than you, has seen a lot of things, has more advice to help you to come to terms with where you are and where you should be going as a family. Sometimes it's a big family dispute. They start, in the olden days, Yoruba people and I think many of the Nigerians were polygamous. Polygamy, one husband, several wives. It was traditional, it was cultural, there was nothing wrong with it. And they had several children and they all lived together. So, of course, that's a big community on its own where you will always have disputes. It's not because they're from different mothers, it's just because it's a large community. We will step on each other's toes. And many times there had to be mediation within that community. It was the same family, all of them from one father, but several mothers. I mean, you can imagine if a man had 5 wives and each wife had maybe 4 children, that's 20 children all living together happily. You
Yeah.
had
And then they have, yeah, then they have their families and they then have their children. So it just grows that whole,
exactly,
whole, it's like a community
exactly.
by itself.
It
No, but
is.
important thing
You know,
also, what I will point out is that within that community or family, finally the people know whom they can trust to resolve their disputes. It's not every elder. It's not every elder. They know. But sometimes because people have this feeling that every elder can do it. No, people know whom that elder is and who will help them. Because why I'm pointing this out is because Abiola in her presentation said, even stupid people get old. That she used it a couple of times. But people know that.
That's a
People
good
know that.
one.
And they know who will help them resolve their dispute. So it's not that every elder is the one you
No,
go to.
no, 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 no. Oh, no. People know. People know the elder that does not understand, cannot spell, cannot even think about confidentiality. I mean, confidentiality is one of the things we really talk about in mediation. So they know the elder who, if you take your problem to him, it would be social media of those days. The whole community will know about it. Let's say, for example, you and your wife were quarreling privately because you were suspecting that that child she has is not from you because, maybe you have a problem, you can't have a child. The elder that you are going to go and report your wife to, who is not going to tell the whole world this is your problem. And the elder who does not understand the meaning of confidentiality, which is very important in mediation. So all those things that we talk about in mediation are actually present, they're all present in traditional mediation, cultural mediation. Confidentiality is very important. Neutrality, even though we're all, the elder is part of the family, but they know that this person will not take sides. And that's part of, it's not every elder. So you want an elder who can keep secrets. You want an elder who is always neutral, who doesn't take sides. Or, of course, if the elder is very much related to one of the sides, you probably won't go there because you also want an elder who is neutral, who is not going to take sides.
I'm telling you, Olusola, this also I'm surprised about, because obviously in the formal system, they keep talking about neutrality and all. I'm saying that people know that a person in there, he might not be neutral, might not be independent, but still is someone you can go to. That much trust is there, that the person will do it
Yes,
impartially without bias, and that becomes more important.
exactly.
That and I'm saying,
Exactly.
and the starting point of mediation is that the parties choose their mediator. So that by
Exactly.
itself, they know whom to go to. Sometimes, I mean, you can
Mm-hmm.
give whatever, you can say that, okay, like I said, independent and neutral and everything. It might not matter to the parties. I mean, who are we to tell them that this should matter to you? They have to decide. They know.
Exactly. They know.
Yeah.
They know. And even in our cultures back home, they also know. They know people who take sides. They know people who we can't trust this person. We can't. We can't trust him. They know who can be trusted, who cannot be trusted, because they've also all lived together for years. So in
Yeah.
living together all these years, they have come to know who can be trusted, who cannot be trusted, who will be neutral, who will not be neutral, all the different qualities that you
Yeah.
expect from a mediator, who is
I'll
calm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, just an example. I'm saying that supposing in that family there are two children from different mothers, but they might choose one mother to go to. But
Yes,
obviously, that mother might not. We will not. You might say no, not neutral because she's the mother of so
of
one of
one
them.
of them.
But it won't matter to them. They know that this person is going to
Exactly.
be fair and will do it fair. So I think
Exactly.
we have to be able to give that much. People don't give credit to the parties. Then they know best. For some
Oh, they
reason, I
know.
don't know. Yeah.
Oh, no, they know because, like I said, they've lived together. Maybe they've lived together for the last 40 years within the same, or even 20 years. They've lived together. Like I said, the man has 5 wives. They all live together with all the children, all of them together. So they've grown up knowing that we can trust mommy A. Let's call mommy A, mommy B, mommy C, D, E. They've all grown up knowing we can trust mommy A. She's always fair. We can't trust mommy C because mommy C, not only will she not be fair, she's going to tell the whole world. Everybody knows her as the neighborhood gossip. So we're not going to go to her. Anything we tell her is on the social media of those days. She's going to tell everybody. So we're not going there. But with mommy A, we can trust her. She'll be neutral. She'll keep our secrets. She's calm. She's very calm. She's not going to start shouting when we are the ones even shouting. All the qualities, they find it in one person. And it doesn't matter, like you said, even if she's the mother of one of the parties, she's not going to take sides with her own child. That's just how it is. And it comes from knowing the mediator, which is something we don't even have a chance. Today, we have to
Exactly.
depend on maybe the LMDC to appoint a mediator for us and take our chance. The LMDC too tries their best because they can profile to a certain extent. They can profile their mediators. But in our culture, we could profile more easily because we all had lived together. So profiling was very easy to know who would be the right person for the right for whatever type of dispute it was. We knew who was the best person to go to.
And also tell you that of course, you're saying, we keep saying that the younger lot that we have, the children that we need to pass on this whole concept of developing a culture of mediation, they also know very well who those people are within their friends
Yes,
and in their circle. They know this person we can trust, and we can't trust this person to help us resolve the dispute. So even at that age, that whole concept of the entire structure is available. We just need to tell them, look, you should use it more often, and this is the way. These are the people who are in your school or in your community,
exactly.
who are people who are trusted. These children are trusted. Why don't you go to them? It's all there also. It's all there. So we
Yes,
don't.
and that's why we have to encourage like mediation clubs in schools, so that right from the beginning we can start handling that. And like you say, even amongst friends, friends know who to go to amongst themselves, who is going to keep their secrets, or who is going to put it on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and then it's all over the world. People know. Unfortunately, I mean, sometimes there may be a mistake. You go to the wrong person and your story is all over the world. But generally, even amongst friends, people know who to go to, who is calm, who is not going to take sides, who is going to keep secrets,
Yeah,
even amongst them.
yeah, and I'm telling you that what you do, just ask a group of children, okay, in your school or wherever you play, who are those people
Yes.
who you go to. Just call that person and call these children and ask them that
Mm-hmm.
in a particular fight, how did this person help you? And ask that person, how did you help them? Everything they
Mm-hmm.
will tell you, the entire process of mediation that you learned in that cedar course, they will give it to you in one
I
short
know.
lesson. They know everything, each and everything. The process is so well known to everyone. We just try to make this
I
into some
know.
rocket science. I don't know what we are giving you.
Yeah. That's why I told somebody my grandparents would turn in their graves that you spent so much money just knowing how to help people resolve disputes. How could you?
Exactly. I mean, it's just something which is so basic. First of all, the person who has that mediator mindset, it is such a natural ability to even ask the person how you do it. They won't be able to tell you, but it is all there. They know everything. It just
Yes.
happens. It just happens.
And they didn't go to any school to learn it. I mean, I don't think my great grandfather went to any cedar school or any school to learn how to resolve disputes for people,
Yeah.
But I just think what these courses have done today is to help us articulate those steps that our elders took. Because things like caucusing, they did caucusing naturally. They would just say,
Yeah.
tell the other person to come and see me. It's caucusing. And you will not be there when they're talking to the other person. So they hear from you, they hear from the other person privately. But now, you know, teaching it has taught us that that was what they were doing.
No, I'll tell you
They
what,
were,
I'll tell you what the problem with that is, that we know that in communities or families, there were those individuals that people went to because they had certain qualities. That's where they
yes,
went. And out of a whole group of people, there might be one only. There might be only one. Maybe you have
that's true.
200 people, there might be just one. Suddenly we think that all those qualities that that one person has, we can in some way inject it to the others. It can't happen. If it
That,
had happened, it would have happened in those communities. It didn't happen because that one person had everything. So we don't need to
yes,
create everyone as a mediator. For some reason, we've got this concept that if we tell them all these basic theoretical principles, they'll become mediators. How
yes,
did that happen? Doesn't happen in any community. So what we maybe where we are going wrong is thinking that we can make mediators, because of which the profession doesn't take off. Because obviously someone you want to make a mediator cannot give the user the experience that the user wants. Maybe that
Mm-hmm.
is why it's not taken off in the world. It's not that it's a new thing. It's been
No.
happening in the formal sector also. They in the US 40 years, they keep saying 40 years we've done mediation. But even today in their in the country, they file 100 million cases in the courts. If it was such
Mm-hmm.
a big thing that people understood and got a user experience, they would go only straight away to the mediator. Why would they go to a lawyer and then go to the court and then go for mediation? So there is some
Mm-hmm.
fundamental issue. And if you look at the community mediation centers, they do nothing compared to those 100 million which go to courts. If you see the numbers, is nothing. So there is some
No.
fundamental issue in the way the whole profession is being attempted to be developed. So I think we need to, this traditional aspect of it, we need to develop that aspect a lot more. And from there, take these people who have that natural ability, let's take them forward and let's them be available to communities, that okay, these people are there, why don't you use them? And let those people who have that mindset take it as a profession. They have everything in them, but they do not value themselves. Forget the
They
community, they don't
they
value
don't
themselves.
understand. They don't even see it as something,
Yes,
it's just something they just do. They just do it. And also, because the world is developing, disputes are developing, there are many people who have a mediator mindset who don't even know.
yeah,
They do those things just naturally and forget about it. And so sometimes we also have to draw them out. The people who
exactly,
have the mediator mindset, we have to
yes,
draw them out and help them to recognize what they have. Many
exactly,
of them don't even know what they have. So we have to help them because we need more people, as the disputes increase, where you had one mediator in the community to maybe 200 people. Now you have maybe 500, 1,000 disputes. You need more people because you don't want to weary the one person. So we need to be able to draw out those who have the mediator mindset and help them to enter into it and then make it a profession. Because I believe there are many people who can do it, but some don't even know there's anything like mediation.
exactly,
They don't even have and yet it would come to them so naturally. Many times when I've encouraged people to do the course, because of course you need to do the course to be able to be appointed, I've said to them, I've watched you, I know you, and I see that you have that comportment, that it's just natural to you. Why don't you consider doing mediation? But they've never thought about it. There are people go to them, friends go to them. It's just natural to them to sit down with people and help them resolve issues. But they've never seen themselves as mediators. They've
exactly.
never thought about mediation.
These are the ones we have to bring into the profession. But
Yes.
what you need to do actually is that what I'm doing, which is what you should also do, send people out into villages to start with. Let's start from the grassroots. People go to villages, ask them who are those people in the village who are helping people resolve the disputes, whom do the villagers trust. Let's start creating that database, because like you said, obviously there are a lot of disputes. If we can bring these people, because these people are only doing it as a part-time thing, okay, it's okay, come over, I'll sit with me, I'll do
Mm-hmm.
it. But if they make that into the profession, that's the way the world needs that. It's not just the community, the world needs that. So we start
Exactly.
with that. Those people definitely can start doing it within the village. Now the problem that I've noticed is that there is a lot of urbanization, so people have moved out of villages, but they still have connections with the village. So property disputes are there, but one part of the family stays in the city, one part stays in the village. So these people, because they have the connection with the village, these people in the rural areas and the people in the urban areas can actually sit with these people. So that
Mm-hmm.
connection still stays. So maybe those can be used for those disputes within the communities where people have all gone out also. So that also happens there. Instead of them filing a matter in some court and then dragging this person there, so we have that available. So let's create that database first, and then let's see who wants to be upskilled or can be upskilled. Let's then whatever, if there is something that they require further, if they, I feel they don't need anything, but let's see what happens. If they need some kind of support or training, I don't like to use that word because you can't train people who know everything, but just maybe discussions, conversations with them and things like that. So let's develop that from there. I feel that is the future for taking the profession forward, because the user experience is guaranteed, because these
Yes.
people are giving people that user experience. That's why they're trusted. So that's one way I'm thinking we take it forward. And the same way in the cities also, we have
Exactly.
communities, do into the communities. Start from there where people are already trusted. Same thing with schools. These children are already trusted. Let's take them into the fold. Then value the profession, value the person. They should be paid. This whole court system, and $40 is what I was told. You saying less than $50. I was told $40. So
Now, 40,
$40. Yeah, $40. I mean, can we imagine this person has to be a certain qualification, certain numbers of experience, years of experience the person has. It's not that everyone can be registered in the courthouse as a
no.
mediator.
Well, it's because these so-called cases, these $40, $50 cases, that's why I say it's more of CSR. It's
Yeah,
like you're just giving to the community, because most of these cases they've already paid their filing fees, so they can't ask them to pay anything. So government just kind of subsidizes. So it's government
exactly.
where, but if you had private mediation, people would pay more. But before I want to come back to what you said about developing people. And we have to develop people back home, and we have to develop people in the city. And another area where people are being developed is in the, how do I put it, in the industries. So you have, for example, a place called in Lagos, Computer Village. Computer Village is a big, huge market where they sell hardware and software, everything to do with technology, the hardware, the software. This is a business worth about $2 billion, $2 billion worth business, because the person who was then the minister for IT a few years ago, and it's grown beyond that. She said it was a business when they had assessed it worth about $2 billion. The Computer Village, it's huge. And within the Computer Village, for example, they have a lot of disputes. Many of them don't even want to go to court. So you can then identify those who have a mediator mindset within that community. So apart from even communities at home and communities in the city, we can also identify business communities, because all these people in this huge market are still traditional. We're all Yorubas, Igbos, Hausas, whatever. We all come from that culture of resolving disputes. So even within the business communities, we can also identify these people who have a mediator mindset. So in the computer village industry, in the maybe association of hairdressers, for example, they have their own disputes. And so if we started to identify also those with a mediator mindset, even within business communities, one, because they are also resolving business disputes, I think they would be willing to pay. They would even rather pay there than have to go to court, I always tell a story of a client I had, and we had this case going on in court, and the case would have gone on, I don't know for how long. They had seized, he had this, in fact, funny enough, he was an Indian, but he had lived in Nigeria all his life. And so they seized his container, 2 containers full of stuff. It was an intellectual property dispute. So somebody went to court and said what he imported was, he had used his own intellectual property, and so the court should put an injunction he mustn't sell. And so the thing had been there for 6 months, going to 1 year, and we're going to court. And I don't know how it is in India, but in Nigeria, adjourned. And then we're getting close to vacation. So it was going to go for another long adjournment. One day I was on my way home, and this gentleman, I walked past this little shop, and this gentleman said, "Oh, hello, lawyer. How are you?" I looked at him. I couldn't recognize him. He was wearing jeans and T-shirts. He said, "Oh, you can't recognize me." I said, "No, I can't." But I greeted him well, but I just couldn't recognize. He said, let's say Vic, for example. I'm Vic, the lawyer in this particular case." I said, "What? You look so different. Now he's relaxed. He's at home, somewhere near his house in the supermarket." He said, "Why can't we resolve this dispute?" I said, "Why not?" And that's how we started talking. We could have had a mediator, but this one, we resolved it ourselves. By the time I went back to my client, the Indian man, and I said, "Oh, I ran into the lawyer to the other side. He's willing to resolve it." He said, happily, he said, "How much do I have to pay? I'm happy to pay. Let them release my goods and let me go on with my business." And I said, "Oh, they're asking that if you pay 250,000 naira," this was a long time ago, they would release those goods and that would be the end of the matter. And the only thing is that don't use that particular intellectual property. And he said, no problem. When I said 250,000 naira, his first question was cash or check. He wasn't, he just, do you want cash or do you want, because he had thought of how much he was losing every day for his goods to be tied down. He would have made 250,000 naira so many times over from turnover. He just said cash or check. I said anyone. He said, I will bring it tomorrow.
Exactly. That's how simple it is. That's exactly how simple it is, because a businessman understands the commercial aspect of it. It is not the legal. He doesn't want to get into the interpretation. And like yesterday, one of the participants was saying, just splitting hair in the court. They don't want that. They want to get on with their business. There is so much they want to do. So we have to be able to understand that part and merge the two. So I think that's, because that's why I'm saying that if business, because there's certain business community, there's particular one community I can think of, that they have decided that the disputes will always be handled internally. So they know whom those people are, whom they can trust. So they have those people and they resolve it internally. It doesn't go out of that business community. So this is what everyone needs to understand and do. But point is, who's going to get people together? The problem is that the people you're electing people. You have associations. Now this is that's where politics comes in. So once politics comes in, you are going to divide people. You're not going to get them together. So the whole thing is gone in that direction, and the good people who want to help people just stay at the back. But they don't want to get involved in all this politics and this, that, because that's another world happening. They say, why should I get into it? Why should I mean, I don't want, they want to help also, but they can't. So I think we need to be able to bring these good people out and tell them that you are needed in society, value them. Ultimately, it's all about valuing them. And everyone doesn't need, everyone, for a lot of them, like we were talking about Christian from Romania, you must watch his session also. He's gone into certain part of Greece, where a total traditional method of resolving disputes is there. So they have these mediators, and they're doing it because of that social position it gives them. So that's why. So that is
for money, not just for money.
And that benefits them. So if it can be give them some benefit, otherwise they're okay with that. But the point is that the entire thing is available to us. I will keep repeating it. It's available to us. The people are available to us. We just have to connect them together. That's all. And that's why I started, like I had the Mediators Collective. I started something called Peacemakers Collective. So these are people who everyone can't be a mediator, but people wants to be a peacemaker. So they go out and do this in the village. Start from the village and in communities in towns. I'm not saying it has to be only villages. They go there, they identify the people, they then get the people who have disputes, get them together, because the more important thing is to get them together. And then after that, to get them to the person who has that mediator mindset and just coordinate the entire process. So it's all something that we have to just get all this together, and you have to do it where you in Nigeria. I need to do it. I need to do it all over the world.
It's very important. It's very important. And it would make a big difference in our communities, in our countries.
Yeah, it's just basic steps. So we just have to take those steps. But the only thing is that when the law comes in, like you said, traditional arbitration has recognition by the court. Same way when mediation happens in the communities and everything, those settlement agreements should be should become court decrees, because luckily we have a law today. Our law provides that it can be, if it becomes a court decree, if it has to be written, yes. So that part of it, people have to understand that you need to write it. But anyone can be a mediator. We call it conciliation, but anyone can be that. So this is the kind of law we need everywhere, that parties are the best to decide. They will appoint the mediator. They will follow whatever process has to be done. At the end of the day, they are the ones who are going to sign that settlement agreement. And that should be as good as a court decree. What better? Sitting in a village, imagine sitting in a village in Nigeria and someone gets a court decree in his hand. What better than that? What better than that?
Nothing. And in Lagos, with most of the mediations, if you get a mediation in Lagos, you can take it to the courts, and the court will make it a court judgment through the LMDC. You take it through the LMDC.
Mhm.
So they're having mediations. Even, for example, the Administrator General and Public Trustee Department, they help people also to mediate estate matters. And if people are able to resolve, they can then take it through the Lagos Multi-Door Court and they make it a judgment of the court. So even if you sat down in your village in Lagos State, if you went back home to a village in Lagos State, you mediated, you signed terms of settlement, you can bring it through the Lagos Multi-Door Court for it to be made a judgment of court, and it will be enforceable.
Okay.
You know, if one party does not do his or play his own part, it would be enforceable like a court judgment.
Perfect.
So that's another thing the Lagos Multi-Door Court has helped to do. They can take mediations from other mediation groups, communities, and process it to be a court judgment.
But Olusola, who's going to tell them? Because lawyers,
That's,
like you said, have a vested interest not to tell them. So
that's
we
true.
need to
That's
bring
the
it down
problem.
to them. So anyway, now what I'm going to do is at this point of time, I'll end the live session only because you have to put a certain duration of sessions on the YouTube, but
Yes,
otherwise people don't watch
yes,
them. So it's been
yes.
wonderful talking to you. And I mean, these conversations
Thank
are going to go on and we're going to have lots of those
you. Yes,
conversations.
yes,
But
yes.
thank you very much for taking out time. It was really nice.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much. I've
Bye.
really enjoyed talking with you.
Mm.
And I am really looking forward to seeing you in Nigeria.
Definitely. And
Have
I
you
am,
been vaccinated?
yeah. I've been vaccinated.
Oh, good. Me too.
Yeah. So I think that way, even our city now is perfectly, I mean, we don't have, I think maybe 10, 20 cases in the day or something like that.
Oh, very good. Very
Yeah,
good. Because it was very bad a few months ago.
exactly. But the only thing is that cycle
Mm.
keeps happening because obviously people don't understand. They forget that they had just gone through this where there were no hospital beds, there were no oxygen cylinders. I don't know how we forget like
Mhm.
that. And they're
I
back to
know.
normal, getting
Yes,
into.
yes. Without face masks. Going around without face masks.
Exactly.
You know, because we
So
had that.
yeah, so
Mm.
we'll keep chatting. I'm just stopping the live session. That's all. We'll
Okay,
keep chatting.
okay, okay,
But I'm telling you, the
okay.
duration matters. People should not look.
Yes,
Oh, this is
yes.
2 hours. Oh,
Too
forget it. We'll
long.
watch it later.
Yes, yes.
So, so thank you very
Mm.
much.